I'm Doug Jones, Chairman of the Western Stock Show Association. Welcome and thank you for joining us today on this virtual annual meeting. To begin our meeting, though, it's our honor to now play the national anthem of the United States of America.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
God bless America. I'd like to welcome everyone to the 2021 annual membership meeting of the Western Stock Show Association. This meeting is held pursuant to a notice mailed to all members not less than 10 days prior to this meeting date. This is a unique time for us all for sure, and thank you for understanding and patience in holding another virtual meeting a second year in a row. Much continues to expand and develop at the National Western Stock Show, and that comes with opportunities and a few challenges along the way. Our future is very bright, and we appreciate your taking the time with us today to learn more about our exciting future. We are very excited to be broadcasting today from the new H.W. Hutchison and Family Stockyards Event Center, which will be open to the public this coming January for the 2022 Stock Show. We're in the new auction arena for the Yards, which seats over 600 guests. Along with the Stock Show and Rodeo returning in January 2022 will be the May annual meeting, which will be back to our traditional steak dinner face-to-face finally. Pursuant to the bylaws, members may attend this annual meeting either in person or by proxy. Due to COVID-19 rules prohibiting gatherings of our size, this meeting is being held virtually, and the proxies will rule the vote. We have counted the proxies received and will now ask the Secretary, Mr. Mark Gustafson, to give the results of the proxy count.
Mr. Chairman, thanks to the diligence of our membership returning their ballots, we have 453 members attending by proxy for a total of 453.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. The bylaws call for a quorum of 200. A quorum is represented, and this meeting is open for business. First, I'd like to give a few shout-outs and appreciations to those involved with the Western Stock Show Association. Many thanks, first of all, to the Board of Directors for their continued commitment and wisdom throughout this past year. Our challenges and opportunities come from many different directions, and we're unprecedented for sure. You all continue to be a valued resource to WSSA each and every day. I personally am very grateful to have had your advice and counsel throughout this year. Thank you for what you do for agriculture in this 115-year institution. Also, I'd like to acknowledge the senior staff of the National Western Stock Show, led by our outstanding President and CEO, Paul Andrews. Paul and I have developed a great partnership, and we will continue working side by side to bring this great vision and project to conclusion. Thanks to the following senior team members: Kyle Bond, Jeff Childs, Ron Rohr, John Ellis, Leon Vick, and Karen Woods for their outstanding leadership and commitment to our mission, vision, and values. The entire staff has done unbelievably well during these difficult times throughout this past crazy year. Thank you for all your commitment and patience. In addition, I'd like to recognize all the committee chairs that continue to make good decisions and drive forward the invaluable working of committee that make the National Western Stock Show the legendary show that it is. We are ramping up for an outstanding show in 2022. Thank you to the chairs for what you do. I'd like now to take a moment to recognize those members that have passed. Jim Carpenter, Lou Cox, Peter Decker, Anita Erickson, Dwayne Flack, William Hyatt, Dallas Horton, Vince Contney, Middleton Lawson, Kevin McNicholas, Jack Orr, Don O'Connor, Evan Slack, B.W. Pickett, and Bruce Waddell. The bylaws call for the reading of the minutes of the 2020 annual meeting. Due to COVID-19 not allowing gatherings, the board has waived the reading of the minutes. However, I would like to inform all members that the minutes of the meetings are available for reading at the office of the association. Now, I would like to invite to the podium our president and CEO of the Western Stock Show Association, Paul Andrews, to provide the president's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Highlights of the 2021 fiscal year are as follows. Shortly after the 2020 stock show, COVID-19 closed our complex, which was early March of 2020. As we waited with hope that it was just a temporary closing, it became clear this pandemic was going to be longer than anyone imagined. As a result, the City of Denver approached us to seek permission to house those experiencing homelessness in our expo hall in April of 2020. We agreed that this was an appropriate use of the facility in an emergency situation and opened the doors in May of 2020. This lasted until September of 2020, at which time the COVID dial began to ratchet back. As we began to try and reopen, the dial and the rules continued to fluctuate throughout the year and did not allow for promoters to plan on an event at our facility. We continue today to suffer the same situation at the complex, but with the vaccine, the rules are loosening up and we are hopeful to be fully open by the end of summer. In September of 2020, the Board of Directors, after careful consideration of all data and after meeting with health officials and government officials, decided to postpone the 2021 National Western Stock Show. Although a very painful decision, it was the responsible decision given the data that was reviewed. We decided to do as much as possible virtually for the January 2021 show, which was led by the Capital Campaign and their virtual events each day. Our stock show staff, board, and volunteers embarked on 16 days of service and completed community service projects at 16 nonprofits in the city. We decided to serve others in their time of need when we could not conduct our annual show. In addition, the Coors Western Art exhibit and sale was held virtually and sold nearly $500,000 worth of art, an amazing figure. Thanks to the Coors Art Committee, led by Lou Wilkes and Rose Frederick, our curator, for an amazing job. We were able to move ahead with the Catch a Calf show on site in January, and nearly 40 animals were shown and judged. We also conducted a virtual sale of these animals to support the education of these fine youth. Thanks to Clancy Anderson, Bruce Wagner, and Ben Duke and their committees for making this a special event on site this year. With the postponement, we reduced our staff size from 95 full-time employees to 40. This was necessary in order to reduce our monthly cash burn rate to as low a level as we could manage and still be prepared for complex shows. As we stand today with these proven moves and the association applying for assistance from the federal government and the Colorado legislature, we are on solid financial ground and will make it safely to the 2022 National Western with cash on hand and no line of credit debt to pay. The past 14 months were the most challenging times for the live event business, and we all saw many businesses fail. Although it was our most challenging in history as well, I am happy to report we are headed towards the 2022 show with great optimism and financial stability. Our board of directors made key decisions at crucial times, and our senior staff sacrificed wages and jumped into jobs they had never performed in order to make it through this pandemic. We are near the end of the tunnel, and thanks to the hard work of the staff and board, we will make it. Although revenues were at an unbelievably low number, as you can imagine, our scholarship trust corpus has grown to over $13 million, and as a result, we were able to fund every single student that has been receiving funds even during the pandemic. No one got shortchanged on their college education. Over 100 students studying in the field of agriculture continued their studies uninterrupted. Thank you to the Scholarship Trust Board of Directors, led by Chairman Jim Cage. This is Jim's last annual meeting as chairman of the Scholarship Trust. I want to thank Jim for his tireless work over the years. The new chairman, J.J. Ament, has a long history with Stock Show, and he'll be a great leader for the trust. We're in our third year of the National Western Denver Scholarship Program. This program funds Denver students that attend college in a field that will impact agriculture in a positive way. This program is also fully funded, and the 10 students are receiving funds uninterrupted once again. For exact details of this new program, please go to nationalwestern.com. Events that we own that we did not host this past year include Rodeo All-Star Weekend and the Denver County Fair. We plan to bring back Rodeo All-Star in April of 2022, but will most likely defer on the Denver County Fair until the opening of the National Western Center. So enough of the negative. Let's turn our eyes towards the positive for this coming year, because there is a ton of positive on the way. Development of the National Western Center facilities continued, and we'll open the new Seal and Ron Williams Yards and the H.W. Hutchison Family Stockyards Event Center this January. Key highlights of the Stockyards Event Center include a sale arena with more than 600 seats. You can see it behind me. And a show arena that can contain 2 large show rings and bleacher seating for up to 800. Hospitality rooms, an international welcome center, and show offices that will be much more efficient, and a bar that extends out into the Herdsire area. That Herdsire area will be an amazing amount of fun this year. It's almost double the size of the last Herdsire area. Key features of the yards include improved load in and load out by controlling traffic on the new National Western Drive, pin area footing that will be asphalt with standard size day pins that are 24 by 32 with the flexibility for carloads or very large groups. Night pins are 16 by 24 feet, and they provide flexibility as well. For every pin, there will be 6 20-amp circuits with their own breaker box for power. Never before in any part of the world, ladies and gentlemen, has there been power provided to someone in the yards. We're the first. Water is provided on each aisle as well. Multiple wash racks with tempered and regular water will be provided. Exercise areas, sail display pins, and an expanded Herdsire area that I just talked about will all be part of the celebration in Denver this January. Get ready, it is going to be like nothing the world has seen. The other structures on site continue to be in design. The Equestrian Center and Livestock Center are both being designed by Populous Architects, the leader in the field. The city has issued the final tranche of bonds for phases 1 and 2, and design will continue throughout 2021. The city has asked us to explore with them the phasing plan for the remaining buildings in order to decide what path is appropriate given the impacts of the pandemic. The board and I are in the process now and will update our members as information becomes available. The Legacy Building continues in design with Triba Architects and their world-class team. The start of construction of this building will begin with the start of the Livestock Center, which is projected to be late 2021 or early 2022. In order to remind the members of the complex site at full build-out, please enjoy this fly-through video. The city recently announced a different direction for completion of the area we call the Triangle, which includes the 60 acres to the east of the railroad tracks and currently contains our Expo Hall, Event Center, and the Denver Coliseum. When the National Western Center is fully built out, this area will contain a new rodeo arena and a new Expo Hall. With the effects of the pandemic, the city did not feel that doing a public-private partnership in this area to complete these assets was still a viable option. The city is considering an alternate strategy for completion of these assets, and we will continue to work with them as we seek a solution. As we look at the 2022 National Western Stock Show, our volunteer program will be more important than ever as we spread out across a much larger footprint, because we're going to almost 200 acres. In addition, we need volunteers to help us promote agriculture across the state, as that has become more important than ever. Our volunteers continue to prove year after year how important they are to the success of our show and the enjoyment of our guests. Those of you that are currently in our volunteer program, thank you very much. Those of you that wish to be more involved in Stock Show as members are encouraged to become part of our volunteer program for this upcoming show and beyond. Information can be found at nationalwestern.com. Due to the postponement of our 2021 show, a new cattle show has been created in Oklahoma City known as the Cattlemen's Congress. We've met with every breed association that attends the National Western regularly and have educated them on our 2022 grand opening of the Yards and Stockyards Event Center. What's being created here at the National Western is an area specifically for cattle to be exhibited and sales to occur in state-of-the-art facilities. Feedback's been very positive, but we will lose some breed associations and some exhibitors at the 2022 show. We'll continue to work hard at our customer service and benefits for our exhibitors as we approach our 115th year. Next up to the podium to report on the financial position of the association is Vice President of Finance, Jeff Childs.
Thank you, Paul. Good afternoon. The Treasurer's report for fiscal year ending March 31, 2021 resulted with the following. Revenues of $8 million compared to $48 million for 2020, and expenses of $11.6 million compared to $23.6 million in 2020. With the loss of revenue in fiscal year 2021, we went into protection mode to conserve cash and decrease expenses as much as possible. The complex became a homeless shelter which generated cash flow and helped pay for fixed expenditures like utilities, internet, and labor. We also received $2.3 million from the payroll protection program. And we were able to cut labor costs and eliminate as many temporary positions as possible. The change in net assets from operating activities resulted in a negative change of $3.6 million. Less long-range planning cost of $180,000, less the amount payable to the City of Denver for $35 million, for a total overall decrease in net operating assets of $38.8 million. The balance sheet shows a strong cash position of $2 million in the operating accounts and $33 million in capital campaign accounts. The association was able to maintain its operating cash through the pandemic and did not have to use any funds from the investment account nor borrow from the line of credit. Total liabilities increased over prior year by $34 million. This is due to the payable to the City of Denver for $35 million that will be paid in fiscal year 2022. Working capital, which is the current assets over minus current liabilities, is $3.1 million, with working capital ratio of 1.08. Cash flows provided by operations was negative $6 million as compared to $1.9 million in prior years. The Scholarship of Trust awarded 100 scholarships in 2021 with total net asset value of $14.8 million. That concludes the Treasury report for fiscal year 2021. Thank you very much.
As I conclude my report, one which I hope to never have to give again, I want to assure our members that although this was the most difficult year we've ever had, We are on the cusp of changing our business model into a sustainable business model with new facilities that will take the WSSA into a new era of prosperity, which will allow for the growth of our education programs throughout. So stay positive and get excited for the 2022 National Western and beyond. It's time to get back in the saddle. That concludes the President's report. I will now turn it back over to Chairman Doug Jones to continue the meeting.
Now a guy who has been relentless and successful in his pursuit of dollars for the capital campaign, despite a pandemic. We are so grateful for his passion and commitment to the vision for the Western Stock Show Association. Please welcome the chairman of the capital campaign, Pete Coors, to report on the campaign.
Thank you, Doug, and thanks for all you are doing for the Western Stock Show Association. I didn't think I'd be delivering these remarks at the annual meeting virtually again this year, but here we are. I'm delighted to be coming to you from outside the H.W. Hutchison Family Stockyard Event Center. And before we go any further, I want to make two very special announcements to you that you'll be the first to hear. Our campaign has received $2 million gifts that allow the space where I'm standing here today to be forever known as the Bruce and Bev Wagner Family West Plaza. In addition, the arena where Doug and Paul made their remarks is going to be called the Wagner Equipment Company Auction Arena, thanks to the generosity of Bruce and Wagner Equipment. Bruce is president and CEO of Wagner Equipment. He is a member of the Western Stock Show Association Board of Directors as well as the Capital Campaign Committee. We're thrilled that Bruce and Bev, their family, and Wagner Equipment stepped up at this level, and we are so grateful for their support. Now, while 2020 did not allow us to work at the pace we typically enjoyed for the campaign, I'm pleased to let you know that we made some terrific progress on our efforts. We're committed to raising $100 million to fill our city obligation, as well as fund the new world headquarters of the National Western Stock Show, the Legacy Building. As of today's taping, we are closing in on $80 million. After coming off a successful 2020 stock show for the campaign, we found ourselves stymied and stopped last March, like the rest of the world. And I, for one, do not believe in asking for gifts via Zoom. So we spent most of 2020 communicating and checking in with our donors, prospects, and friends. Although I will say we were incredibly lucky since gifts did continue to come in throughout the year. Now let's fast forward to 2021, when we found ourselves still not back to normal and with no stock show. The campaign committed and executed on 16 days of virtual events, everything from interviews with stock show icons, kids programming, to happy hours and a marquee concert. All of those activities had just one goal: to keep everyone a little bit more connected and a little less lonely during a time when we all should have been together. And judging from the more than 11,000 hits we got, we didn't disappoint. I'd like to spend my remaining time with you today talking about the future of the campaign. As I mentioned, we're sitting on just under $80 million, but I should also tell you we have done that with fewer than 800 donors. Now, I know for a fact that there are a lot more than 800 people who love, value, attend, and enjoy Stock Show. Our activities in the coming months and through Stock Show 2022 are meant to greatly increase that number, as well as reach out to a broader audience. First, we'll be reaching out geographically. Now that things are starting to open up a little bit more, we're making plans that will take us into the summer, fall, and beyond, and take us on the road. From Amarillo, Texas to Wyoming, from Roaring Fork, Colorado to Colorado Springs, from Greeley to Fort Collins. And we'll be out still in full force here in our home in Denver. In addition, we want to reach deep into some industry-specific initiatives. We're already working with our friends in the oil and gas industry, lawyers, construction companies, and we'll be looking to add many more, including banks and automotive companies, just to name a few. We are also continuing our efforts to ensure that everyone, especially our trustees and members, are included. To date, 100% of our trustees have made a gift. 24% of our members have contributed. We're aiming for 100% participation. It's a powerful statement to be able to tell our donors and prospects that members and trustees are all totally on board. So if you haven't made your gift, this would be a good time to buckle up and let's get those gifts coming in. We'd really appreciate it if you do that. Now, many of you have supported one or more of the special giving programs by purchasing an historic brick, a brand, or a heritage horseshoe. You may have also honored special women in the industry supporting our Women in Ag program, or you have cemented your legacy by being part of the Families of the West. And I want to let you know of a new program that will launch later this summer called Companies of the West, which will be for all our corporate friends who want to be part of this great transformation of the National Western Stock Show facilities, and who recognize the economic powerhouse for our community and that the stock show represents. To learn more about these programs and all our giving opportunities, please visit our website for more information. Now, before I leave you, I want to ask you all to save a special date for a series of ribbon cuttings, which we are planning for the National Western Stock Show on January 7th, 2022. Doug Jones, Paul Andrews, and I want to host all of you for what can only be described as a rolling ribbon cutting and a massive celebration. That afternoon, we will cut the ribbons for the Seal and Ron Williams Yards, the H.W. Hutchison and Family Stockyard Events Center, the Bruce and Bev Wagner Family West Plaza, the Stowe L. Whitwer Memorial Show Arena, the Wagner Equipment Company Auction Arena, the Carl and Betty Bergner Concourse. I think by then we'll have several more. Our goal is to have as many areas named within the Stockyard Events Center as we can before it officially opens January 8th, and we remain ever confident and ever faithful that the support is there. I want to end with a few notes of gratitude. When I took on this role as chairman, honoring the legacy, building the future, I knew I was going to need a lot of help, and help I've gotten. Luckily, that came in the form of vice chairs, whose names you see now on the screen. And we all got additional help from our capital campaign committee. And again, you'll see their names on your screen. And we would not be here today without the help of the vice chairs and the committee. And I can't tell you how deeply grateful I am for their help. And let me close by thanking all of our donors. Whether you made a $25 gift, bought a brick or a brand, or something substantially more, we appreciate each and every one of you. We welcome everyone to be part of the campaign. Just visit our website for more information. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you all soon.
Thank you, Pete. If there are any questions in regard to the business affairs of the association, I want to remind all members that questions may be submitted through our contact form on our website. We will now proceed with the election of trustees, which has been confirmed by proxy. 2 new trustee positions opened up this year, and the recommendations from the nominating committee were mailed to you in the proxy materials. The 2 new trustees are Bob Deneen and Luke Lynn. Their bios were included in the proxy mailing. To be elected at this meeting, there are 33 trustees to serve for 3-year terms, commencing upon their election and ending in 2024. The nominating committee has nominated 33 members to fill the seats of the 33 trustees whose terms expire at this meeting. Those names were provided on the proxies included with the notice of this meeting, which were sent to all members. I now call on Secretary Gustafson to read the name of the nominees recommended by the nominating committee and the board.
Robert Alexander, J.J. Ament, Steve Bangert, Mark Beaupre, Hank Brown, Chris Castillion, Ben Duke, George Eidsness, Joey Friend, Eric Glenn, Cammie Grant, Mike Gutterson Sr., Skylar Houston, Liz Hund, Blake Hutchinson, Mark Honan, Jeff Keller, Richard Maxey, Charles Monfort, Bronwyn Pepple, Hugh Rice, and Charles Scoggin. Wes Segelke, Mike Shaw, Pat Shaw, Kent Stevenson, Chuck Sylvester, Don Thorne, Kelly Tischer, Hank True, Court Wald, Bob Deneen, and Luke Lind.
There is no contest. There are 33 nominations for 33 positions. Since there are no contests, I vote the proxies for the nominees as read by the Secretary. I declare the nominees elected as trustees. I welcome as trustees all those members elected and remind them to attend the trustees meeting immediately following the membership meeting. At this time, we would like to read any resolutions passed by the board in 2021. However, no board resolutions were passed in the past year. I will now turn it back to Paul to close the members' meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to personally thank all the hardworking staff that continue to produce positive results for the association year after year. You all continue to rise to the occasion and tackle all you're asked to do at a very high level. And in this past year, you were asked to do things you never dreamed of doing, like cleaning stalls and working in the parking department, even though you weren't hired for that. So thank you so much for your dedication. As I adjourn the meeting of members, we welcome those trustees to stay online with us for the trustees meeting that will commence immediately following the members meeting. Members are welcome to stay online as well. Thank you all for attending online today. Your participation and interest in the association is always encouraged and welcome.
Pursuant to the bylaws, trustees may attend this meeting in person or by proxy. However, due to COVID-19 rules in place, the meeting will be governed by proxy. I now ask the Secretary to give the results of the proxy count.
The proxy count by the Secretary reflects more than a quorum of 33. Trustees are present by proxy. The meeting is open for business.
The bylaws call for a reading of the minutes from the last trustee meetings. However, for this virtual meeting, we want to remind all trustees that the minutes are all available at the association offices for anyone to review. I now invite Paul Andrews to give the report of the nominating committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 5 current board members are up for renewal at this annual meeting. The nominating committee, chaired by Nancy Tour, recommends a yes vote for the following current board members to remain on the board for a period of up to 3 years. Buck Hutchison, Brooke Fox, Barth Whittam, Mark Gustafson, and Guy McIndeffer. I will now turn it back over to Chairman Jones to confirm the proxy vote.
The proxy count is 45 for, 0 against. The proxy vote has confirmed all 5 current board members to continue for an additional 3 years. I now invite Paul Andrews on behalf of the nominating committee to the podium for the election of association officers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The nominating committee has put forth the following names for positions on the board as association officers. Chairman of the board, Doug Jones. Vice Chairman, Barth Whittam. Secretary, Mark Gustafson. And Treasurer, Bruce Wagner. I will now turn it back over to Chairman Jones to confirm the proxy count.
The proxy count is 45 for, 0 against. The proxy vote has confirmed all the association officers approved as recommended by the nominating committee. This concludes the business affairs of the trustees. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.